As the superpowers of the world boycott Russia, big names such as Amazon and Apple have suspended their services in the country in support of Ukraine. The sports world isn't far behind, with major tournaments canceled in Russia. Formula One has now joined the trend, and in today's video, we're going to be talking all about it and how much more you might not know of yet. Firstly, Formula One has officially joined the boycott against Russia. The Formula One owner, Stefano Domenicali, told Sport Bild this week that Liberty Media won't be returning to Sochi for negotiations. He has put Russia on the blacklist, meaning Formula One has turned away from the country. The event was set for 25th September 2022 at the Olympic Park in Sochi. It was canceled after the invasion began. F1 had already announced in June that the race would move to Igora Drive in Russia from 2023, but now Domenicali stated that there will be no more racing there. The negotiations are over between them. Now, the Russian Grand Prix is extremely popular among fans and brings about a huge sum of money to F1, and as expected, the owner had something to say about that. He agrees that the revenue from the racing there is insane. However, the money can't buy anything, especially his moral compass. The Sochi semi-state circuit conducted 8 editions, all won by Mercedes, but now there won't be any more in Russia. According to Domenicali, there are things that can't be negotiated, and profiting off a country that's invading Ukraine and is responsible for the casualties of hundreds of civilians is one of them. With that said, the contract has been terminated. Now, let's talk about the casualties of this termination and what athletes have to say about it. Recently, it was announced by Motorsport UK that F1 drivers holding a Russian license have been banned from competing in the UK as well. There's only one Russian in the F1 grid, and his name is Nikita Mazepin, and he's now unable to partake in July's British Grand Prix. The FIA, which is the F1's governing body, will only allow Russian drivers if they compete under a neutral flag. Mazepin's future is definitely hanging in the balance, and now so is his father's. Dmitry Mazepin is a part owner of Haas's title sponsor, known as Ural-Kali. During the final days of testing in Barcelona the past week, Haas removed the branding as it's a Russian fertilizer company. Former Russian Formula One driver Daniil Kvyat came out against this decision, stating that he believes that banning Russian athletes is an unfair solution to the country's invasion of Ukraine. Kvyat raced for Red Bull and was replaced at the end of 2020 by Yuki Tsunoda. He urged that the sporting bodies should aim for a peaceful solution and not exclude Russian athletes. Furthermore, he highlighted that the sports federations from around the world should remain outside of politics, as sports is meant to be all about unity and peace. The FIA later confirmed that drivers from Russia and Belarus will compete under the FIA flag and not the Russian one. Belarus is one of the countries in support of Russia. Nikita, along with Ural-Kali, is now raising funds to aid the banned athletes, specifically those who've been affected in the sporting world due to political reasons that are out of their control. They're starting out with the Paralympic team of Russia that was banned from the games in Beijing. So where's all this coming from? By now, everyone's well aware of the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Earlier this year, in February, Russia began its invasion of Ukraine as tensions between Moscow and Kyiv reached an all-time high. The West responded with sanctions on Russia. So far, the countries that have taken action against Russia include Switzerland, Japan, South Korea, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and more. These countries have not only openly condemned the war, but some have placed sanctions, banned imports, or opened their borders to Ukrainian citizens. Belarus, the Russian ally, has faced immediate backlash as well, as the EU placed a ban on the country's imports from mineral fuel and tobacco to cement and steel. As the war progressed, the severity of the boycott got worse. It started with a verbal condemnation of the war. Then the West and EU decided to cut Russia and Belarus from the global financial system, ban Russian airspace and media, ban crude oil and other imports, and much more. This was all highlighted when major popular brands such as Amazon announced that their services were banned in the country. Other than that, there's been a huge outcry online against Russia. Moving on, F1 isn't the only one breaking contracts in light of the war. The sports world is no longer silent. With fans clutching blue and yellow in stadiums, it is clear that they've raised their voices in support of Ukraine. Following the outcry, huge sporting events have canceled their events taking place in Russia. UEFA announced their final would no longer be held in St. Petersburg. The Soccer Association of Poland, Sweden, and the Czech Republic also called for the World Cup playoffs set for a Russian venue to be called off. Joining the list is Germany, who removed the energy giant Gazprom, a Russian-owned sponsor, from their shirts. FIFA joined the trend, and Manchester United terminated its deal with the Russian airline. All in all, players, managers, and fans have expressed their distaste for any sport that has something to do with Russia. F1 is the next big organization that has now canceled its event, initially planned to take place on Russian soil. Now, moving on to other news. First up, Russia is planning for the 2024 Paris Olympics despite everything. The Olympics are only a couple of years away, and the Russian players have already been banned from participating. Despite this, the country is still planning for its players to live and compete in France. The ban was enforced due to a recommendation from the International Olympic Committee. Nonetheless, the Russian committee hasn't been banned, banned, which still gives them the space to prepare and be equal participants in the Games. The qualifications for some of the sports events within the Olympics have already begun, and the rest will start within a year or so. If the ban is lifted, Ukraine will ban the Games altogether. On the other hand, the International Judo Federation has allowed Russian players to participate, but only if they compete under a neutral flag. In response, the Ukrainian team has said that they won't be participating since 11 of the 24 Russian players were members of the military. It's quite a slippery slope and has led fans to criticize the inclusion of politics in sports. Next up, Brittany Griner has been sentenced to 9 years in Russian prison over a drug charge. The 31-year-old basketball player and two-time U.S. Olympic champion was recently convicted of drug possession and smuggling in Russia. This is after the police found vape cartridges with cannabis oil in her luggage at the airport. There have been speculations that her arrest was only a political play to carry out an exchange of high-ranking prisoners between the U.S. and Russia. There's been an exchange of prisoners in April for different reasons. Griner's lawyers stated that the drug was medicinal, meant for chronic pain and injuries from her career. They even presented a letter from her doctor. Griner pleaded guilty, stating that she was aware of the Russian law against cannabis oil, but she didn't plan on smuggling any and had no intention of breaking Russian law. Her lawyer said that the brilliant athlete is under great stress and misses her family. Her family and fellow athletes have expressed great concern and urged the U.S. president to take immediate action. Although Biden has expressed his sympathy and made public remarks, it's not yet apparent when that would be. And last up, we have Lewis Hamilton confusing his fans. Many athletes share their journey on social media, and Lewis Hamilton is one of them. The champion gave his loyal fan base a sneak peek behind the scenes on Instagram. However, he went completely silent on social media after his loss in the World Championship in the final lap of the Abu Dhabi GP. If you're wondering why, well, it's because he was extremely disheartened, and rumors went around that he may retire from F1 altogether. Hamilton was quick to shut down said rumors when he announced a couple of months after that he wasn't retiring. The fans were not only relieved, but absolutely delighted to see him come back. The only thing different was that he cleared his following list. Some had been speculating that the FIA and Hamilton are not on the same page anymore, as his defeat was blamed on the FIA's management. Earlier this week, it went viral on Twitter that the young talent only followed one private account with one post with the name +44word. Several similar accounts popped up for different drivers until one made for Lando Norris went public to reveal that the FIA is planning something radical and the drivers are taking a stand. However, we don't know anything for sure. It could be very well a fake account. That's a wrap for this video. What's your opinion on politics in sports? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.